you show up even if you're not gonna make anything. You're there on time, even though nobody's forcing you to. I think sitting down and getting work done, even if it's, if it's terrible.
Yeah.
I think all of those things, although they may not be the moments where you create the best art,
yeah,
they help position you to be in those moments where you can create great art.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. This episode of Stupid Coffee is going to be a great one. Remember I was talking about how I'm interviewing artists who are trying to pursue art full-time, but I have a hard time finding like full-time artists who've made the leap from part-time to full-time? Well, today is the day. My very first guest who has made the leap, becoming a full-time creative and a long-time friend. We used to work in San Francisco together in a coffee shop, waking up to the smell of coffee, slinging espresso shots, pouring drip coffee, making dreamy latte art. Anyways, he is a painter, a tattoo artist, also dabbles in photography, the one and only Joel Baca. Okay, enough talk for me. On with the show. Welcome back to Stupid Coffee. This is where we interview artists who are hourly employees or who have made their leap to becoming a full-time artist, and what their experience is in living in a big city and trying to make it. So today we got our artist, painter, I believe Joel Baca. Wait, Joel, right? Joel
Yeah,
Baca.
Joel.
Yeah, beautiful. And you are a painter?
Yeah, I'm a figurative painter here in Brooklyn.
Figurative painter. You also do tattooing and what other stuff do you do too?
I work as a tattoo artist in Manhattan. Have my studio in Brooklyn, and then from time to time I also kind of find a way to, cross-pollinate with people in apparel, other things like that.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Sweet. Before we get into that, we're going to show some of Joel's art. Today we have our coffee. It's from Loveless Coffee. It is a company, mom and pop. It's in Bushwick. Yeah, so they have two shops in Bushwick. What I really like about them is that they are very transparent to the consumers about their pricing. And they talk about like how what is introduced and what you're not trying to spend more extra money on certain things like other companies do. So I really like that. Today we got like Kenya. It's a double A.
It's a wonderful coffee.
Yeah. What do you think about this coffee?
The profile's really nice on this. It's light and sweet, opened up really nice. It's a great cup of coffee.
Yeah. It's almost like it almost tastes like strawberry tea to me.
Yeah. There's something. There's like a sort of a natural sweetness.
Yeah.
Nothing synthetic or whatever, but yeah, almost reminds you of fruit.
For sure. Have you ever been to this place?
Yeah, I've been to Loveless.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So if you were here, this is Loveless Coffee. All right, cool. So yeah, where are you from actually?
I'm originally from Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yeah.
I was born and raised there. I think that's probably where a lot of like the ideas or some of the stuff that I'm working through in the paintings now are starting to kind of, I'm realizing that's where a lot of that stuff's coming from.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're digging a lot from that old past. And what would you say, like, the style, like, living there or that's influencing it?
I think when you live in a place like New Mexico, which is in the desert, all these great cities like New York, they have a lot of things that they offer, but what New Mexico has is space. There's just a lot of space, not a lot of people, but a lot of space. And I think now that I'm a little older, that seems to be informing how my relationship to space in paintings, in design, or how I'm sort of organizing things. I think just growing up and having some different type of relationship to like what space means and how it exists to me, you know.
Okay, cool. You and I met both in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about a little bit about the why did you move out there?
Yeah, when I was young, growing up in New Mexico, the rest of the United States is relatively young in comparison. New Mexico is an older place. But when I was growing up, I felt like this youthful desire to get out of this old place.
Yeah.
And go to these exciting cities. And these cities were things I'd only heard about in music or film. And San Francisco was one of them. So the moment I turned 18, I moved out and I had to go see some of these cool things, these big cities for myself.
Yeah, no, totally. And that is, what was like you moved for college or?
Yeah, I actually, I started college in New Mexico and at age 19, I got hit by a car.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, it was kind of
What happened? Oh my God.
It was an unexpected thing, and but at the end of the experience, there was the opportunity to move to San Francisco. I think being injured the way I was, it provided this opportunity for me. Like, I think once there was a little bit of like a settlement involved, it gave me, I think, maybe the encouragement and also just like the money at the end facilitated a move to a big city. And so like I moved out there and started painting, went to art school.
Yeah, wait, so what was the injury, if you don't mind? Like,
no, it's okay. Yeah,
disabled for a while, or?
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting being young because your body is so resilient; it heals so quick. But at the time, I broke a couple ribs, got a concussion, broke my leg.
Dang.
Yeah, so all these things sound severe, but the truth is, like I said, I was 19.
Yeah.
I was,
Do you think that like fueled into more of like, man, life-changing event that now nothing's gonna hurt me now? Like, I feel like.
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and also too, I think like you never know why things happen, and sometimes initially when they happen, they're perceived as something bad, know. But you never know what that's going to turn into. And for me, it was like the initial impact was a little hard to get. Then a year later, I had all of the right things to move to this city. Yeah.
And you went to which university in San Francisco?
The Academy of Art in San Francisco. Yeah.
It's just so wild. Me and Joel went to the same school, but I think we just passing. I think you were like above me a little bit.
Maybe a little older.
Yeah, a little bit older for sure. Yeah. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. And we worked together for a while.
Yeah. And you probably finished. I went for a couple of years. I think I was 19, 20 or something.
Yeah.
I was so wild. All I wanted to do was learn how to paint, how to sculpt, how to,
You didn't care about these side stuff like literature that needed, I don't know, economy.
Well, that stuff, the youth is wasted on the young. I read a lot more literature, but at the time I wanted to, I wanted to make art, and I wanted to go to these schools so that I could learn how to make art.
For sure, you see it and you just want to.
But I had all these big ideas. I thought, hey, just teach me how to do it. I already have the ideas.
For sure. Ignorant, very ignorant as a kid, right? Everybody's like that.
Yeah, and more just like, I don't need a degree. I need skills. I have ideas. I need skills. I don't need a degree. I want to, I want to go out there and make something special. And I think there was a little bit of rebellion as a kid against like the establishment,
the traditional.
So I was just like, I don't need to play by every rule. I don't need to show you a piece of paper to get a job. I need you to teach me how to paint so I can put them on the walls.
For sure.
Yeah.
You I guess you really embraced the fact of teach a man how to fish.
Yeah.
Fish for life.
Don't give him a certificate that says he can fish.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
So talk about like your artwork. Do you when you were I guess in your teens or in your 20s, I guess, who were your inspirations at the time? And have they changed now? They're always changing? Sorry.
No. That's a really good question, actually. I think the first images I saw, or the first artists that I was inspired by, I may be more inspired by now. But I have gone through periods where I've had to kind of sort of leave them where they're at and go and explore new people that inspire me and new things that inspire me. But now that I'm getting a little older, I realize how much value those initial like artists and painters and people were to me, and how much they've always kind of been present. The first real painter I can remember being inspired by, it either had to be Diego Rivera, like a Mexican muralist painter growing up in New Mexico. I think I saw a lot of his images even before I knew what they were.
Or like in museums, or just randomly?
New Mexico is a place that really supports art. Santa Fe like has a really wonderful like gallery scene and art scene. It's all Southwestern art, but I think they really rally behind people who kind of embody that feeling.
Awesome.
But then also we were lucky enough, New Mexico as a state was lucky enough to have a painter by the name of Fritz Scholder move to the state in the 70s. And my dad, who is Native American, he grew up with these prints. Fritz Scholder was famous for making these paintings, but he also was prolific when he made like lithographs and monotypes and stuff. And my dad had all these prints, these Fritz Scholder prints.
Wow.
And if you've ever looked at his paintings or his art, they just are these really strong, bright, interesting takes on what American, Native American culture is like. So I think these images somehow were like etched into my mind. I still find like some of the silhouettes or some of the things coming through.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And where did you grow up in New Mexico?
So I primarily grew up in Albuquerque.
Albuquerque, okay.
Yeah. Went to school there.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, middle school, high school.
Yeah. Did you go to art school there too, or no? Like, did you go to a high school that had art?
I went to a high school that had art.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
They, I was part of like an art program in the high school.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, I don't know how good it was, but it was
the taste of it a little bit.
It was it was the right personality for me too. I'm 40 now.
Yeah.
So that was in the 90s, and like this is before internet, this is before social media. So, if you saw an image or you saw something in art, I mean, it really it resonated. You weren't seeing images all day, so if you saw something cool, you held on to that for years.
Yeah.
Before seeing something else that was cool.
Yeah. I can't even imagine, but I guess that's where you kind of got the little taste of making art in a way. And then you went to the academy, and how did this whole business of tattooing, like, how did you start that part? Just talk a little bit about it. We don't have to go deep, because that's a deep rabbit hole.
No. It's there's a complicated way to say it, and there's a simple way to say it too.
Yeah.
Simple way to say it is I started getting tattoos when I was young. 14.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That is freaking young. Okay.
That's young, yeah. It was one of those things where it was like, I think with the 90s, with punk rock, with grunge, with all this stuff, street culture was huge. You know, you got tattoos, you dyed your hair, you know, there was very much a way to like express yourself through the way that you looked.
Yeah.
And I think there was a little bit of like an anti-establishment element to it too. So it's like I was getting tattooed at a young age. I always liked them. I always really felt like drawn to the images. You know, like what, you know, flash on tattoo walls and stuff. And then I worked all these jobs, all these different jobs, trying to paint and create a way for me to make art full time.
Yeah.
And tattooing was this really perfect blend. It was like I could make the art myself. The people would come to me with ideas, and I could articulate them, and then I could set my own schedule, and I could make something special for you.
It sounds like a really big freedom going on from just artistically and time in general.
It's nice to be social too. You know, the days I'm in the studio, it's like, you know, I'm working pretty closely with the painting.
Yeah.
And I'm not alone. The painting's there.
Yeah.
And it's talking back. But tattooing was always great because that's social, man. You can go in there, you can hang out with people, you see people, love on people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, also you're from the service. I feel like people who are in service are not just there for a reason. Like, I mean, they all are like the best people at like the charm and everything. I feel like that's just all part of it. And people who've been in it for a very long time just don't know why they're still there. It's because I think there is a little bit of like you just enjoy service and talking to people.
Yeah, not every value in life is like monetary. Not every single thing comes from a dollar. But with a job like service industry, it's an interesting mix of both.
Yeah.
Because you get paid to do it. But like also too, you know, on the days where it makes the most sense and you see the people that you love to see, you get a lot more than just money out of it.
Yeah.
You know, you get people.
For sure.
You know, and some people are not so great, but there are a lot of people that are really great.
Yeah. I want to see how, or like, I guess the people want to know, how did you make that leap? And I know you had a tattoo job before, and then you came into coffee, and that's how you met me.
Yeah.
But then there was a moment in time where you were like kind of questioning about, do I need to just full time into the art and tattooing, or and I felt like you always held on to painting is like you have to, that's just like you can't live without kind of thing almost. I feel like I feel like every person that I talk to has that like I have to do this thing, this is just me, and then they just like do any other side work to get by. But I think you had a good combination of tattooing, which is still doing art, and gets you, like you were saying, talking to people and relief of that. But like, what made you make that jump and decision? Like, how did you know that, all right, I'm gonna do tattooing instead of just making coffee every day and do art?
You know, the interesting part about that is I'm sure it's different for everybody.
Of course.
But for me, I think that came from trying to do exactly what you just said, which is like question it. I think your life is something that always is gonna evolve and change, but it's something that only you understand. Like only you know like how confusing it is or how much clarity you have around something. So for me, there were times where I was confused, and then there was times where I was sure. And I think the moments in which I put it off and just continued to paint and work a little bit quietly, thinking that maybe there wasn't a possibility for me to, you know, enjoy this full time, or maybe it was something that I had to do but wasn't going to be part of the way that I made money. There were times where there were surges of confidence and moments of like, I don't care what I have to sacrifice, this is what I'll do. But I think questioning those things is important. But I also think being there at the end of questioning. I think a lot of people it's easy. I understand where this comes from, but I think it's easy to give up when questions get too hard. But I think it's important to be there and not give up, even when the questions, maybe particularly when the questions get hard.
For sure.
That's the time in which you got to hang in there and I think find your resolve and do that thing that makes you feel the way you feel.
For sure.
Yeah.
And did you think that and I know that the money situation, I guess how did the tattooing thing that you got started in, that kind of really helped out you making that leap too from just making coffee to that, because the pay is way better and there's more time, and like you said, your schedule works out, you can make your own schedule. So that was a good way of making a leap in a way. And now do you ever think that you'll ever stop tattooing and just go full time, not even touching that anymore and just going, painting, and I'm just gonna chill out?
Yeah, I've thought about it. It's something that I think in my mind feels good to me, but also too, it feels really good to make tattoos on people. So it's if life brings me to a place where it's it's time to let that go, I'll let that go. But as of right now, it feels good. I don't do it very much. I only take appointments a couple days a week, so I've got it.
Pretty good.
But it also too, it gives me a little bit of balance. Like I said, it's art can be freedom. It doesn't always, but it can be freedom, and tattooing can be discipline. You have to show up.
For sure.
You have to perform artistically for people in a really kind of concise way.
Yeah.
And that's good for my, I think for my temperament. It's
discipline.
Discipline is good, yeah. So I like that about it. But yeah, there's some big ideas in art I'd like to do.
For sure.
And I think if tattooing was something that I stopped doing, I think it would be out of time and devotion to something that was much larger, that needed more of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do you feel that sometimes artists sometimes in a rut, and we're talking about specifically for your painting, do you ever feel man, I don't know, I can't do this anymore? Or have you ever found yourself, and I'm not talking just right now, but not the current state, but throughout your whole life, where you've had difficulty just, I don't know if I can do this anymore, self-doubt of painting? Tell us a story where you found that, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I think that question can kind of be answered two ways, which is one part of me wants to say that I've never really been in a rut insofar as I thought I wouldn't paint. I was gonna give it up and never paint again.
Yeah.
But I consistently, weekly, am in ruts as far as challenging myself to make something great. I'm often showing up and really trying to make something that clearly articulates what I want in the painting, but the painting also has a personality and a life all its own, and sometimes it disagrees, sometimes it's very agreeable. So there are ruts in so far as sometimes I get into a grappling match with the painting and I lose, So yeah, sometimes
Let's talk about that part of how you're talking to these paintings. It seems that's a pretty cool theme. I've never really heard anybody say talking to the painting. When you're saying that, what do you mean by that? You're it's telling you to okay, this color in this way.
I am sure that there are different types of design and art out there where you come up with a clear plan and then you execute perfectly.
Yeah.
But that's not the type of art I'm trying to do. The type of art that I enjoy and some of the painters I enjoy are these people who often are living semi-difficult lives, but they're working something out about their humanity, something about them as people, them as artists, and they're searching in the painting for a lot of those bigger questions that are harder to answer. And so sometimes when I'm painting, I'm sort of unearthing, or I'm sort of treating it a little bit like an archaeological dig. I'm like unearthing things, and I'm usually kind of surprised at like what I'm finding just below the surface. And so that to me is a conversation. It's like I'll put some paint down, and then the paint will react a certain way, and that's it talking back to me and saying like, this is my opinion, this is how it's supposed to look. And I'll think, oh well, then I have to respond in kind, and sometimes I have to fix it. Sometimes I'm delighted with the way it's coming out, so I continue to move.
It seems you're always getting astounded by what you're doing yourself. That's kind of cool, because like that's the fun of it. Yeah,
and it's like if you've had a lot of conversations with people, they can go that way. You can be so happy with the things that you're talking about, with the time that you're sharing with each other. And then sometimes you're talking to somebody and you're like, oh, this is awkward. It's really tough. I have that same relationship with painting. Sometimes I make a painting and I think like, nothing's working. This is awkward. But some days I'm just doing my best to enjoy every minute, because everything's just working right, you know?
It's so crazy, because every single painting I see that you make is just really beautiful. And
thank you.
When you say like, this is rejects, I'm like, I don't know, man. This is dope.
Yeah.
But that's just me. But again, like, so what do you particularly use for your paint? What is your media, I guess?
The current collection is it's collage. It's so I take a lot of photographs on like 120 medium format film, and then I collage the images, and then I blow them up really big, and then I print them out, and then I kind of meticulously cut out the figurative elements of it, and then the rest of the painting is just large scale oil. Like I just use like kind of like a big, broad, like expressive approach to like oil painting. Yeah. I mean, I'll mix in a little bit of other things. And there's pastel. There's a little bit of chalk. There's
mixing a little bit, but mainly oil is.
But mainly oil. And you know what? It really was born out of this. This feeling of like when I visit galleries, when I go to museums, I love these like very viscous, thick oil paintings. Where you can really see the paint build up on the surface. I just love those, and so I thought, wow, I'm gonna make my paintings look like that for all the people who like that too.
Your brushes. Do you have particular types of brushes that you like to use, or any type brand that you really like, or a horse? Like, I don't know what. Are you particularly like whatever's kind of.
I have noticed that's a great question actually, because I've noticed in the last couple of years, I always liked using natural brushes, or I always kind of thought that I liked using natural, but I've had to kind of switch to synthetic. Mostly because there's a lot of action painting going on, and what tends to happen is I, forgive me, but I abuse those brushes. They sometimes hit the surface hard, and I'm using a lot of large, more like gestural marks. So it's like
heavy too. It seems
heavy,
so
and so sometimes
can't handle it. Probably
the natural brushes or bristles, they just come out
and they stick in it.
They just stick into it. So I noticed synthetic, something heavy duty, something that can really handle the abuse I'm putting it through.
You gotta find some, like, I don't know, rhino hair or something.
There's something almost close to like a great pair of pants, or something like that. Every once in a while you'll buy something and you won't expect it to last forever. And before you know it, 3 years later, you're just like, I feel the best in those. And so brushes are like that. I'll buy a brush and I'll start using it, and I'll think like, I've been using that brush for
a while,
a year and a half, and that's my favorite. But I've got 8-10 brushes going at once or something like that. So
we're gonna talk about pretty quickly, go through these little questions, but about relationships wise. A lot of artists have a hard time like balancing out that relationship, especially you're trying to hustle, go through all this. How do you balance that time to like make effort, or how do you do that in your life? Because you're happily married right now.
I
Just
am.
married. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Very happily. I think the type of relationships you build are really important. I think the person deserves all the credit. Like my partner, she's incredible, very patient, understands that that's who I am and that's what I need, and does a really wonderful job at giving me that. But on the other end, it's important for you to show up for them in the ways that it's meaningful for them, you know? So you reciprocate and give them what they need also, you know? Be conscious of, art is a super selfish thing. It's like, you think it's important, you need your time to do it. It's important for you to show up for other people in the same way.
Nice. And this is solely different, but I'm trying to compact it all into one. So have you, during your journey as an artist, have you ever had like help from anybody? Like, are there funds anywhere that people usually look for, like scholarships or like money that is somewhere government-wise, or not really? You just kind of flew with it solo dolo?
I definitely did it solo, but kind of to talk a little bit about the partner that you're with. My wife deserves a lot of credit because she's been there in this relationship with me, supporting me and living with me and sort of doing all of that stuff. And I think that largely in part is the reason you can do. So it's like even more important than money, having somebody who allows you to do that and gives you sort of the agency to be an artist. I think that almost is more of a patronage than like somebody giving you money. Although I have won a couple sort of like open calls, artist grant things. There's grants in New York for artists. I've won a couple, but that's all off of merit. It's just like making work and then somebody sees the value in it and then they offer you a grant.
That's awesome. So that's how grants work mostly in New York City. So everybody out there who's kind of listening, like there's money
apply for artist grants. That's
a lot of them.
It's a huge recommendation because it varies state by state, but in New York there's tons of available money.
I didn't know that either. My friend told me about this, like, oh my God,
available money for artists. And now I'm at a place where I'm doing well enough to where I don't apply for them as much anymore, mostly because I think there's a lot of young artists that need them. Yeah, so let them.
For sure.
Let them apply. Yeah.
I'm so proud of you, man, because of the, your new gallery and everything. That's really cool, like,
Thanks.
coming up.
Thanks.
But this is a question from, like, someone who has another artist or some artists, and I'm just going to read through them, kind of.
Please.
One of them is, how did you feel when was the day when you realized that you call yourself an artist? And, I guess, do you ever feel that, or if you don't say it, what do you just say? How do you describe yourself to people in that way?
You know what, I think it was my family that called me an artist first. I'm not even sure I was one then, but it feels like, and I guess if I'm being honest about it, it feels like I've always been one. To me, it feels like that, but it also could have been because of the people around me. I was so interested in it, like maybe from the beginning, I'm not sure, but I was so interested in it, and everybody around me when I was young called me an artist. My grandparents, my mom, my brother, and maybe they were the people that first were responsible for putting the idea in my head. But the more they said it, the more I felt like it. The more I felt like it.
This is it. One of the questions is that, like, social media. Do you use social media for your art?
Yeah.
And like your paintings and tattooing as well?
Yeah.
And how do you feel about how do you feel, like, generally about social media? And be honest, as in, like, how you would feel. Because I know a lot of people don't want to put it up there, but consuming it.
It's a predator posing as a house pet. It's like in your home with you, but it's pretty strong personality.
Yeah.
It's got some things about it that are that can definitely make you pay if you're not careful with it. I think I feel really grateful that I grew up in a time and in a generation where self-discovery was a possibility. that people weren't constantly feeding you ideas of what you should be. That being said, I think it's great too. Like it's wonderful if you view it as something that like is a place for you to be you. Put something out that maybe you've been working on, and also too just connect with people who also probably love what you're doing. Like you know, like I can't tell you how many wonderful people write me great messages that I very, very much appreciate.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that's a very positive note. Another question from the audience is, how do you deal with criticism? And how do you take it personally? One, how do you think about it, and then how do you deal with it?
Well, I would criticize some people's criticism. If it's good criticism, even if it's painful, it's great. Listen to it, take it into consideration. If somebody cares about what you're doing and they're looking at it carefully and they're telling you things that could be things to consider, maybe not even things to change, but just things to consider, listen. Stop talking, listen to exactly what they have to say. But if people are being critical because they have something that's missing in them and they just want to be mean, I give you the exact opposite advice. Ignore that at all costs.
Yeah.
You know,
it's hard to like read the comments sometimes, I feel like, when you see those stuff.
you know, also too, if somebody's there to just be mean, just delete that comment. You know what I mean?
Nice.
I mean, hopefully we have 80 to 100 years, all of us on this planet. It's far too short to be allowing people that type of relationship with you where they're just trying to hurt you.
Who are your mentors right now? Like mentor or somebody you look up to at the moment?
I've had some mentors over the years, some really great ones, people that have really helped me, inspired me, and I think also have kind of, in a lot of ways, pushed me. I don't even, maybe they inspired me, but maybe they just made me feel, maybe they made me feel like I had to work harder.
Okay.
I don't even know if it was inspiration as much as it made me feel like I had a place. I knew my place, and I knew my place wasn't where their place was, and it encouraged me to work harder to get to that place.
What was their names?
Currently, a painter that is here in New York that does that for me is Nathaniel Mary Quinn.
Okay.
He's a friend. I feel lucky to call him a friend. But he's a painter that I admire, I think, who does like incredibly powerful paintings, and you know, I get that feeling from him, and I want to work harder to be better, to achieve a version of greatness. Some other painters throughout history that have done that for me too. Joan Brown, she's a figurative painter out of the Bay Area.
Okay.
Wonderful painter. I think she probably didn't. She's like a cult figure. She's a cult hero. Like, you don't know. If you know, then you know, sort of thing. And I think she's really pushed me. You know, Fritz Scholder is another big influence for me, just because that's been in my mind for so many years. There's some greats. You know, de Kooning, Celia Brown. Like there's
so many.
There's so many good.
But I like the ones that you just got right out of your head. Like those are the ones that. And I'm sure there's many of them others.
Also, really inspired by writers.
Oh
too.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of writers. I think.
Like who? Maybe name a couple.
Well, right now I'm kind of revisiting great. Sort of figures in literature. A lot of Henry Miller.
Oh yeah, Henry Miller.
Yeah, Anais Nin.
Wow.
A lot
those
of
are great writers.
Yeah, reading a lot more Hemingway. Kind of been digging into philosophy a little bit. Carl Jung, stuff like that. These are all great things that existed my whole life, and now that I'm old enough to try to understand, I
Yeah,
don't even know
yeah.
if but now that I'm old enough, I'm trying to read through that stuff and spend time with it.
And I know you don't have a lot of time, but speaking about the time part, how do you manage the time wise? And when you were like starting out, or I guess like
I probably mismanaged it.
mismanaged, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, now I've got a better grasp on it.
What do you do now? Like, do you use any apps or anything, or?
No, you know what I do though is and I think this is really important, right? Is that even though our art is creative and it's on the surface it seems to be freedom, I think there are moments, and this doesn't have to be all the time, but I think there's days and moments where you treat it like it's a discipline. You show up even if you're not gonna make anything. You're there on time even though nobody's forcing you to. I think sitting down and getting work done, even if it's if it's terrible.
Yeah.
I think all of those things, although they may not be the moments where you create the best art, they help position you to be in those moments where you can create great art.
Still, man, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
The people would definitely love that. And then this is a funny one, and we have 2 more questions. That's it.
Yeah.
It's basically, what do you get into the mood? Do you listen to any music that you're into, or how do you? Yeah. Well, let's name some things that you're listening to right now.
Oh man, I feel like I'm kind of getting a little bit older because my whole life I listened to hard, fast music, and I
like who? Fast music.
First tattoo I ever got was a Dead Kennedys tattoo.
Oh man,
I got a DK tattoo.
Yeah. Wow. You have it on you right now, like somewhere?
You know what? It used to be right here.
Got it.
Yeah. And then
it's funny. That's great, man.
Yeah, no, I listened to a lot of punk rock and
and now what is it now?
Honestly, I'm taking the time to figure out where all that stuff comes from.
Yeah.
Right? And so the last 6 months has been heavy on jazz, specifically on Miles.
Miles.
Yeah,
Miles
Charlie
great.
Parker,
all the greats. All the greats.
Yeah.
That's good, man. And then you just get into the mood. That's awesome.
Yeah, one of the things is I realized that like jazz is one of those types of music, right? Which like really blends what was going on the street, in these clubs like in New York and sort of what was happening with the blue collar part of society.
Yeah.
Then it also incorporated musicians who understood their music. They
Yeah.
understood how to play their instruments. So it's like a nice mix of like education and the street and these guys were fully committed
Great.
to breaking through music, changing
New
it.
stuff.
And now that
Picasso of music.
now it sounds a little slow and boring to us, right? But it's man.
That was no, trust me.
Yeah. So I've been listening to a lot of jazz in the studio, but then there's some classics over the years. I always run back. Like I said, I would be lying if I said I didn't listen to a lot of Radiohead in the studio.
Oh yeah.
Deep, long, heavy tracks. You know what I mean?
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of listeners out there would be pleased to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever wanted to feel sad and happy at the same time, just put on Radiohead.
So, since you're almost out of time, how do you like your coffee? And you're a big coffee guy.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
You like espresso, or you just go whatever you feel?
You know what? I do. Yeah, so we just talked about jazz. I like to play jazz. I've gone through so many moments in coffee where it's like, I like it clean, I like it single origin, I don't want to blend, I want to drip, but you know what I mean? I think we went to Italy last year.
Yeah.
I think that really put me in an espresso mood. And I'm not talking lattes, I'm not talking cortados or...
Straight up.
I'm talking espresso.
Straight up espresso.
So I've been drinking a lot more espresso, but then also, hey, I just enjoyed that really beautiful Kenya.
Yeah, man.
So,
I'm glad.
I'm not mad about
That's awesome,
that at all. Yeah.
You do love Kenya and stuff. I remember when I worked in Burundi.
All African coffees. Yeah, you know what though? South American coffees are
Guatemalan coffee is one of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah.
the closer-
Honduras,
the clo-
yeah,
yeah.
Honduran coffees are
To me, if the volcano, close to the volcano, in the volcano, no, I'm kidding. But,
now we're getting exotic. Yeah. No,
sides, yeah.
no. African coffees are beautiful, and especially these single origins. They can be wild and funky. They can be sweet. They can be, sort of
Wild. It's
Yeah,
like art
like a
pieces, these
super
producers.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. So enough time that we're closing up here. But you want anything to shout out to anybody out there? Your website or tattoo or?
Yeah, I mean, if people are interested in taking a look at my work, you definitely can visit my website, which is my first name, Joel, Joel,
Yeah.
last name, Baca, BACA.com. Or you can also visit my Instagram, which is Joel_Baca_. And as far as shows and stuff that's coming up, I always do a really good job on Instagram of just like
Posting it out.
making sure that all of that stuff stays relevant. So if you're interested, I'd love to have you. Love to meet you.
And also, again, congratulations for that show you did in, was it in Florida, right?
Miami.
Miami, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Great.
The Betancourt Gallery, wonderful
Yeah.
gallery out there.
Sure.
Definitely a shout out to them. If you're not following the Betancourt Gallery, you should be.
Check them out.
Yeah, really great stuff.
Anyways, yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
No. Javier is the owner and curator, really wonderful dude. Do yourself a favor.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
And before I say goodbye to you, what is your favorite gallery so far in New York City? And name me one place that you want to be in at some point.
Oh, man, so tough. New York is the greatest city in the world, and I'll tell you that confidently because there's not another city in the world that has a concentrated amount of contemporary painters showing at all times.
Yeah.
But I think it's also good to list a couple galleries too as well. Alexander Bergen is a great gallery in New York. If you're in New York, you should go see that gallery. Almi Rec's a great gallery. I really love Harper's and what they're doing, but I got to be honest with you, if I could show and kind of exhibit my art at one place, I think Vito Schnabel.
Yeah.
I just love their roster of artists. I love their space.
Yeah.
I like the history. I like the everything about that gallery. I also just have a true love for being in that space. So yeah, that'd be my
Awesome,
my
man.
vote.
Thank you so much, dude. Thank you so much for today, man. It was
Absolutely.
awesome. Thank you so much, everybody who was watching Stupid Coffee. Again, Joel Baca, amazing artist. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Till next time, tune in again. See our previous shows before this, but tune in again next time, guys. Bye.